Раз, 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 проверим звук. Всем привет. С вами Алексей. И это мой канал по разным играм. Сегодня у нас стрим по Genshin Impact. Продолжаем проходить основную миссию Арханта в Фонтейне. В прошлый раз остановились в моменте, на месте, где театр. Мы там искали улики, что-то нашли и, собственно говоря, там закончили. Вот, не до конца еще пока разобрались, что происходит, поэтому сегодня будем продолжать смотреть, что будет дальше и так далее. Вот, постримлю я где-то, как обычно, час. Так что не будем терять время и let's go. Раз, два. Вот, да, театр. Посмотрим, ну, по классике все соберем. Кстати, новые молитвы. В прошлый раз мне не получилось выбить Елань. Это персонаж, которого я хочу. Поэтому в этот раз вот у меня есть Джунли. Это один из архантов. Вот его я буду пробовать. Просто потому что я хочу всех архантов собрать. Наверное, возьмем лук. Мне нужен лук. Вот, всех архантов попробую собрать, если получится. Посмотрим, что у нас здесь. Уровень 10. Тут даже какие-то есть... ну тестовый забег. Эту я прошел. События допустим. Ну, это так, я все равно их прохожу отдельно, поэтому... О чем выбрал? Конец события. Ну какой-то, короче, миссия опять быстренькая, чтобы премоген получить, и все. По почте что-то есть в почте. 300 золотых. Вот эти 300 золотых вообще никуда не упали. Они типа, ну, прям вот очень мало дают. Так, ну все. Все получено. Все собрано. Можно гнать дальше, расследовать. Сейчас миссию откроем. Миссию, говорю, а не того. Да, во время проведения трюка происходит несчастный случай. Исчезает выбранная для фокуса зрительница. Все улики указывают на линии или нет. На вас не оставляет сомнения. Собственно говоря, я нашел все улики, которые здесь были предложены. И теперь мне нужно узнать как дела у линий. Вот, смотрим. Это у меня светяшка отражается. Нифига себе. Прикольно.
Understood. Then I will be going with you. Just so you're aware, I will be monitoring your actions and making notes as necessary.
Так, к ним охрану.
Very good. Thanks for being so agreeable. I'd pull a rose out of my hat as a gift for you if I could.
You may spare the pleasantries. I'm just doing my job.
Так, у меня что-то справа R2 какой-то. Что это?
You've arrived. Who's this? Me? I'm Spina di Rosula's guardian angel. If you've got a problem, I've got the firepower.
Да, это какой-то местный детектив, который просто ниоткуда появился.
I got a little carried away there. Call me Navia. I'm a partner of theirs, and will be helping investigate this whole situation. And these are my companions. Would you mind if they join as well?
Fine by me.
Oh, new helpers? I would be most grateful.
Подожди, а куда мы собрались дружно?
Well, let's just say we're tagging along. It's not every day you get to see the secrets behind magic performed on such a large scale.
I appreciate your kind interest. Come with me. We'll be heading below stage.
Под сцену? Мы будем смотреть, что там происходило, да? Туннели какие-нибудь? Они же по-любому...
Yes, a world of secrets is hidden beneath this magic box, prepared specifically for this switcheroo trick. But before I reveal everything, you should have a look first. Notice anything strange here?
Что-нибудь необычное? Например? Нет,
I'm
ничего.
not trying to be dramatic. Remembering the details of a trick will help you understand the methods used to perform it more easily.
Weren't there balloons and other decorations here? Where did all that go?
Я не помню этих шариков вообще.
Good eye. That said, you're still far from discovering the answer.
Так, изнанка двери отличается.
The back? You mean the inside of the door? What's different about it?
Я
Paimon
тоже не
didn't notice
заметил.
anything.
Very good indeed. I thought you might not be able to catch that, given that you were sitting in the first row. The back of this door was patterned. Those patterns are now gone, replaced by a smooth wooden board. So, if you put 2 and 2 together, what do you get?
А значит ли это, что внутри ящика расположен еще один ящик?
Exactly. All right, let's go. I'll tell you how it works as we head down.
Пока мы будем спускаться. Там так далеко спускаться, что ли?
Oh, so there was a passageway under the magic box!
И он соединял ящики между собой.
I knew you'd figure out most of it as soon as you saw this place. The 2 magic boxes are positioned right above the 2 entrances of the tunnel.
Учитывая, что сколько у него времени
See
осталось,
this
он крайне
flatbed
быстро
trolley?
перемещается.
The box with the lucky audience member in it would be shuttled over to the other side using the trolley.
This trolley can raise and lower and even rotate, ensuring that the box will face in the right direction.
I see.
О,
So that's the purpose of the box inside another box.
типа чтобы
Precisely. The inner
счастливчик не
box
заметил
would
ничего.
descend after the audience member was put inside and be moved along the trolley, all while the outer box would remain on stage as if nothing had ever changed.
So that's how you did it!
Once the box was lowered, the trolley would store some energy through this device here, with which it would complete the rest of the steps. The audience member would only be able to feel some slight movements in the dark, and by the time she walked out, she would already be back on stage.
Подожди, а вестибулярный аппарат его не работает, что ли? Как вы его так плавно-то переводите? По-любому, если даже в ящике повернуть, у тебя вестибулярка завопит. Ну да ладно. А ты в это время что делаешь?
Right! You were talking that whole time, and you even came out for a moment near the end!
Ah, yes. A phonograph operated by Lynette was used to achieve that effect. My assistant and I had already scripted our conversation beforehand. When the countdown began, I had already gone to the opposite box via a tunnel using that ladder.
And what about Lynette? Where was she?
I was in the mezzanine space in the back of the box. Oh, interesting!
Ящик в ящике
That's
с
how we were
потайными
able to
стенками.
coordinate Linny's lines with the assistant. And, by the way, I was the one who walked out of the box at the end.
I mean, we are twins. All it takes is a change of clothes and no one can tell who's who. And that's my favorite part of this trick. Only Lynette and I can perform it.
Ничего себе.
So that's how it all worked!
Выглядит не так сильно похоже.
Every detail you revealed was more amazing than the last!
Вы здорово все придумали.
Lynette would briefly walk out of the box and then go back in, jumping into the tunnel and escaping before the box on the trolley could finish ascending. And then I walk out of the other box in the audience area, and the trick would be complete. The operative word here being would. But as you saw, Cal was in the box, not our audience member. She, on the other hand, mysteriously vanished.
We really don't know how that happened.
Ну, в смысле, кто-то узнал,
If
видимо,
not
о
for
вашем
that interlude,
проходе.
this would have been an astonishing trick.
А он столько
I
ящиков.
probably never would have
Сидишь
figured
на
out
нем,
how
и
you
всё.
pulled it off.
Никто тебя не спалит.
And yet, to think that someone was able to use this magic trick to commit a crime. Could we have a look around? I think we can come up with some more leads.
This is the scene of the crime, so Linny and Lynette are not permitted to stay here. I'll escort them back up.
Yes, of course, no need to be so strict now. I won't disappear into thin air, you know.
Еще
Thanks, everyone.
зубоскалит ей.
We're
Смотри-ка.
counting on you.
Так, магический трюк. Лини подробно объяснил, как был задуман фокус. Внутри большого ящика был спрятан потайной ящик, куда и заходил человек из зрительного зала. Ящик со зрителем перемещался к сцене по тоннелю, а сам Лини по тому же тоннелю проходил к ящику в зрительном зале. В это время с публикой взаимодействовала Линет, переодетая в костюм Лини, и ее ассистент. Устройство волшебного ящика на сцене. В волшебном ящике, стоявшем на сцене, сзади было отделение, в котором пряталась Линет, переодетая в одежду Лини, чтобы появляться в конце фокуса и создавать ложное впечатление, что Лини может мгновенно перенестись в ящик на противоположной стороне. Устройство волшебного ящика в зрительном зале. Внутри волшебного ящика, расположенного в зрительном зале, был потайной ящик, который незаметно для публики спускается в тоннель и вместе со зрителем перемещается к сцене. Вот и все. Это, видимо, дополнительные информация. Так, осмотреть станцию управления. Устройство, управляющей тележкой. Похоже, она может двигаться автоматически. Ладно. Записали, я надеюсь. Осмотреть лестницу. Чтобы вернуться из тоннеля в волшебный ящик наверху, нужна лестница. Ладно. Так, что здесь еще есть? О, тут разбито, что ли? Что-то. Почему? Так, исследовать.
What's this?
Looks like
это
a
крюк
hook
какой-то.
tied to the end of a rope. Huh? There's all kinds of odds and ends here.
Лини о нем ничего не рассказывал.
Perhaps it was a prop for a different trick. But why would it have been left here?
Whatever it is, let's make a note of it first.
Мы не будем его с собой брать? Или сфотографируем? Ладно, брошенный крюк на веревке. На полу лежит металлический крюк с привязанной к нему веревкой. Назначение неизвестно. Допустим. Так, ваза разбитая. И вода разлитая. И платьишко чье-то. Ну давай начнем вазу сначала. Hello, hello.
The floor is wet. Please be careful not to slip.
Speaking of which, why would there be water here?
Реквизит для фокуса.
Oh, Paimon knows! It's one of those tricks where you pour water into a jug and then flip the jug over only for the water to disappear. And here's a broken vase. Huh. Did the trolley knock it down while moving?
That can't be. The trolley moves along tracks from start to finish. It couldn't have hit the vase at this distance.
Let's note this down too and think about it later.
Ну да. Разбитая ваза. Осколки разбитой вазы найдены в боковой части тоннеля. Вся вода из нее вытекла. Судя по расстоянию, маловероятно, что ее опрокинула тележка, предназначенная для перевозки волшебного ящика. Так, хорошо. Вазу смотрели. Теперь мы можем исследовать одежду. Hello.
Oh, these are the clothes that the lady chosen from the audience was wearing, right? Her clothes are here, but she's nowhere to be
О,
found.
кстати, точно. По-моему, цвет такой же. Лени не говорил, что зрители в ящике переодевают.
Right. And do you really need to do that if you're kidnapping them? Ugh, this is so confusing. Paimon doesn't want to be a detective anymore.
Быстро ты сдалась, мелкая. Одежда девушки. В тоннеле обнаружена одежда, принадлежавшая пропавшей Холзи. Как она там оказалась, неизвестно. Допустим. Одежду мы осмотрели. Что здесь еще есть? Нет, одежду мы осмотрели в комоде. Здесь мы ничего нет. О! Крюк мы посмотрели. Бежим дальше. Рельсы. Рельсы можно осмотреть. Ну-ка. Чтобы фокус получился, все должно работать как часы, а рельсы позволяют тележке ехать строго в заданном направлении. Ладно, допустим. Сесть. Сядем, узнаем что-нибудь. Но здесь ничего нет. Так-то тут столько всякого хлама в этом туннеле. Что ж, непонятно. О, смотрите, все ящики для всякой всячины. Давай смотрим. Здесь в беспорядке свалены всевозможные реквизит и костюмы. Допустим. Опять сесть. Полюбуемся выставкой мод. Книга какая-то. Так, осмотреть тележку. Без тележки перевести волшебный ящик на другую сторону оказалось бы невозможно. Скорее всего, это было частью плана преступника. Так, что это? Исследовать. А что исследуем? Похоже на вентиляционный люк.
It seems someone could fit through here.
Ничего, там такой люк, блин. Там 2 поместится.
Could this have been the suspect's escape route?
Alone, perhaps. But if they had to pull another person with them,
Да в смысле,
the
лучше
space would be too narrow.
ты там стоя поместишься, блин.
There are no other ways in or out of here.
Только через волшебные ящики. Но в одном ящике был Линей, а во втором Линет.
Oh, you're right. Let Paimon write that down.
Вентиляционный ход в тоннеле. Размера вентиляционного хода в тоннеле было едва достаточно для одного человека. Поэтому забрать с собой пропавшую девушку было практически невозможно. Ну, допустим.
Seems we're just about done investigating down here.
Кажется, мы все осмотрели.
Yes. Let's head back up.
Хорошо, побежали обратно. Раз мы все осмотрели. Так. Так, вернуться на поверхность. Возвращаемся. Поверхность. Мы будто под землей, мы просто в подвальчике.
Well, we've ascertained the state of the crime scene. Let's find a place to sort out our findings once Malus returns. Seems to me that there are several things that don't add up here.
Apologies for the wait, demoiselle.
So, what did the guards say? Did the criminal escape through the vent?
They believe the odds of that are very low, since the vent leads to the Opera House's basement. The guards have checked the area carefully. No one left through the basement during the performance or after the incident, and no one was found hiding there.
So the tunnels become like a secret chamber then. You know, like the kind you usually see in novels.
Я сейчас подумал, потенциально преступник все еще в театре. Просто ждет, когда мы закончим расследование, ничего не найдем, и он потом спокойно уйдет. Кажется, что это вполне вероятная теория. Ладно. Похоже на то.
The plot thickens. Halsey's disappearance and Cowell's death are both quite inexplicable. No wonder Farina was so confident in her accusation. All the current evidence points toward Linny and Lynette.
In other words, the charges are very likely to be upheld unless we make some considerable progress.
Charges and then trial. So if the charges are upheld, they'll announce a sentence?
That's right. This is how a trial goes in the Opera House. During the proceedings, the Chief Justice and the oratrice will hear statements from both sides.
И оратрис тоже.
That's right. This is how indemnitium is produced. The statements from both sides, the defenses from attorneys, witness testimonies, and even the audience's emotions will all be projected on the oratrice. To put it simply, it's as if the oratrice has its own will, and is a judge in its own right.
This also precludes any kind of favoritism on the part of the Chief Justice. And not that this has ever happened anyway.
Incredible. То бишь невероятно.
Once both sides have finished speaking, the Chief Justice will make his final decision. This, too, will be used by the oratrice as a reference. Then, finally, the oratrice will be consulted by officials. The result it returns is the will of justice itself.
Huh? So that machine is the one that actually decides? Paimon thought Neverlet called the shots.
In practice, there is very little difference. Both have always come to the same judgment. Which is why people have great faith in the Chief Justice.
Если не придут к разному мнению.
Yes,
тогда
the
что
guards
произойдет?
also asked me to convey that none of us will be allowed to leave this place before the trial.
Huh? Why?
Because we've chosen to act as the twins' proxies. That makes us persons related to the case.
То есть вот так вот.
They're concerned that we
Кофе
might be
мне не
colluding with
купить
outside
нигде не
parties,
сидеть, да?
or that we might find outside help to disrupt the case. And even if that were not so, it could prove problematic if we happen to spread key information about the case ahead of time.
I'm ready to break out at any time.
Тебе челюсть выломают скорее.
Whoa, whoa!
Парень в
There's no
очках.
need for that. Paimon thinks they have a point. That said, are they providing food?
Герой, блин.
Of course. I just hope you don't mind the lack of options. I'm afraid that catering to all tastes is not in the cards, nor is any guarantee of balanced nutrition.
Сейчас не время привередничать. Ты, в
In that
принципе,
case, let's just
охреневшая.
sort out our findings together here. Pity. I was hoping to take you to try some of Fontaine's famous desserts, too. I mean, what better way to properly think through our findings than over some tea and sweets?
Ну да, сахар помогает.
Breaking out
Главное,
suddenly
не
doesn't seem
переборщи
like
с
such a
ним.
bad idea after all.
Пайман.
Just kidding. Paimon will still do her best, even if there are no snacks.
What do you mean, no snacks? Of course we'll have snacks. If we cannot buy some, then we'll simply make some.
А где мы приготовим-то?
Here? But how?
Да, мне тоже вопрос.
Understood,
Как?
demoiselle. Everyone, please come with me.
А, тут поди кухня еще есть, да? Не театр, а сказка.
Wait, you're carrying a portable stove with you?
Печка. Неплохо.
Yes, I must be prepared to meet the demoiselle's baking needs whenever the fancy strikes her.
Ну, слушай, учитывая, какая она худышка, явно
I have
она
eggs, sugar, and almonds at the ready.
не сильно часто эти пирожные ест.
Good work, you two. Then I'll get to it. Please sit tight for a moment. You'll get to taste my awesome snacks soon enough.
These three are quite the interesting group.
Наверное, какая-то фишка спина ди Расула. Навия умела замешать ясли в соли, достает из духовки ароматные
And
пирожные.
Paimon thought it smelled good while it was still in the oven. Oh, it's even
Ой,
better
эти
now. Paimon can't stop
макароны.
drooling.
Макарони.
From the way you had these
Макароны.
two guys carrying all that stuff
Все
around,
раскрашены,
Paimon
смотрите.
thought you'd have them do more during the baking process. But you ended up doing the entire thing by yourself. Beating the egg whites, grinding almonds, everything.
I was applauding.
And I was giving encouraging smiles.
Ну, Пайман не то имела в виду.
Paimon was just thinking, aren't you worried about getting your fancy dress dirty beating egg whites and baking like this?
Well, I don't think it's carved in stone anywhere that fancy ladies can only read books, sip tea, ride horses, and play the piano. I just really enjoy making snacks. Don't underestimate beating egg whites, by the way. It's a real arm workout. You also need to beat them to just the right consistency, or your macarons will crack.
Макарон. А это и есть макарон?
Give these a try.
Нифига себе.
Fresh out of the oven. There's 3 for each of us.
Only 3?
Там макарон такие,
Well,
что как
eating
бы...
too many sweet treats might send all that sugar to your head. You wouldn't be able to think clearly about the case on a sugar rush, would you?
Tea is ready to be served as well. This is Demoiselle's favorite. Strong black tea with a floral fragrance that clears the mind and lifts the spirit.
Спасибо. Может, отдохнешь с нами?
No need for concern. I'm merely doing as I should.
Так, что мы? Чаевничаем сидим, да? Тихо,
All right
наверное.
then. Down to business. As Paimon mentioned previously, the tunnel seems to be something of a secret chamber. However, we can assume that Linny and Lynette were not alone within it. Some criminal also occupied its sealed confines. The magician twins could have committed the crimes, of course, but they lack any logical
О,
motive.
она, кстати,
Exactly. Why would
делала
they do such a thing right
стихи.
when everyone was watching?
А кроме Лини и Линет остается двое: исчезнувшая девушка и погибший.
The flower vase and the thud we heard during the performance could indicate some altercation between Halsey and the criminal in the tunnel, resulting in the shattering of the vase, the discarding of her clothes, and her abduction.
Это ж какое она
Perhaps the criminal
сопротивление
thought that since she
оказало,
was
что у нее
chosen
одежда
from the
на земле
crowd,
осталась.
she would be too easy to identify if she was still wearing the same clothes.
Paimon thinks that makes sense, but the real trouble is...
Нет никаких свидетельств, что третий вообще существовал.
True. None of the clues we found thus far support the existence of this third person. But the only people left to consider are both technically victims, whether it's the missing girl, Halsey, or poor Cowl.
Huh. Could Halsey have secretly made modifications to the magic props in order to murder Cowl before making her escape?
Она не знала, как устроен этот фокус.
That's right. And even if she had tampered with the setup, she would need to understand the entire trick to pull it off. Nor does she have any motive. The guard said that she has never had any dealings with the Magic Troop's members.
Were we not thorough enough in our search? From the sound of things, this is turning into an impossible case.
Может, она действительно сама все построила. Она типа прибежала,
Your
разбила
macarons
вазу,
are amazing, though, Navia.
поменяла одежду и
They smell
проползла
great. They're nice and crisp
через
and super
вентиляционное
sweet.
отверстие наружу. И все. И сбежала к
They
каким-нибудь
are my specialty after all.
человечкам в
And I
другую страну.
see you've already had 5 of them.
What? 5? Oh, that can't be right. Paimon only counted 3. Honest.
Please don't worry about it. At my age, a few less sweets might actually be a
Вот
good
так
thing.
вот. Бедного старика бесславно себе оставила.
No. Being greedy is one thing, but Paimon knows how to count. Besides, Paimon knows that if she ate too many, then others wouldn't have enough.
Съела и съела, не переживай так. Все в порядке. Все знают, что ты обожаешь вкусняшки.
Wait, even you don't believe Paimon? How could you? If Paimon ate those 2 extra macarons, then may they turn into stone in her stomach.
All right, we get it. Well, I suppose one of us might have gotten too engrossed in our chat and
Ага,
eaten them by
два макарона
mistake.
пропали.
No big deal. Maloose, set up the stove again if you would.
Huh? What are you doing?
Making sure everyone gets 3 macarons, of course.
Не надо, правда.
Exactly.
Забери
We
мои.
don't want to trouble you.
As you wish, demoiselle.
And I have the egg, sugar, and almonds.
Well, this really is your hobby, huh?
Она поди сама схомячила, короче, и такая на Паймон все сперела. Типа она тут Навия снова замешать тесто. Однако последующее обсуждение
Well,
помогает вам
that's
что-то
it for
быстро
snack time. I'm going to have another look around the area. I don't know what we're looking for yet, but we've still got some time. As attorneys, I suggest the two of you think the case over again.
Может, это она вообще
It
все
would be
подстроила?
awkward if you got all tongue-tied on stage during the trial.
All right, thanks for your help and for the snacks.
It was nothing. A small task for the Spina di Rosula. Silver, Maloose, it's time to go. I'll be back if I find anything new.
Так, возможность участия третьей стороны. Ни у Кола, ни у Холзи не было мотива для совершения преступления. Но после обсуждения этого вопроса с Навией стало ясно, что вероятность существования третьего лица, причастного к преступлению, также очень мала. Так, окей,
All
дождитесь
right,
суда.
it's time to put our heads together. We've got to get our defense ready for the trial.
Линию
Oh,
защиты
it's
суда.
probably gonna be a long and difficult case. There's no point in worrying about that now. We just need to prepare. Here, take Paimon's notes. They should help you review the situation.
Да я вроде все помню. Так, мне нужно дождаться суда. Значит, Значит, мы включаем таймер. Подожди, время мне нужно с 8 утра до 10 утра следующего дня. Хорошо. Так, сколько у нас сейчас? О, удобненько. Не так много ждать. Вот 8:12. Так, я дождался. Что дальше? Идем судиться, да? Да начнется суд. Самый справедливый суд.
The whole situation is so
У меня есть мысли, но давай действовать шаг за шагом.
Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Какая она спокойная.
Thanks,
Она
Navia.
точно что-то
Well,
знает.
we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Хорошо, спасибо за удачу. Погнали.
Ah, finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
Да никак.
To be
Ничего не
honest,
понятно.
you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Подожди еще немного.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly,
мы еще
in
такие
order for the
прям
audience
на
to understand the
балкончиках.
causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the
они еще и
necessary
реквизит
items have been
подготовили.
prepared.
Хороши. Линии коротко и ясно рассказывают, в чем секрет фокуса. Публика изумлена.
Thank you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say
Когда
you
это он
were
покидал
hardly
туннель?
in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
А, да, точно какой-то хлопок же был.
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Или нет? Я забыл. Как Лини мог его не слышать? Нет, был все-таки, да, я помню, что был.
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard the thud.
Ух ты, какие весы.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Наверное, они выражают позицию оратрис.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye.
Она хороша.
Indeed, it seems his alibi can also collapse in the blink of an eye. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the
Подожди,
Hearth?
я думал, мы по очереди будем, нет?
The House of the Hearth?
Она решила до конца их давить. Они что, фатуи?
No wonder they did something like this.
А это
So
уже
the serial
предвзятость.
disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
Стереотипы.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
Вот оно что.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted?
Ты смотри-ка, какая
Now comes
чувствительность.
the infighting and discord, I suppose.
Ну хотя, опять же, она
This
же
was
суд
almost
выигрывает,
too
по идее.
easy.
Пока.
Good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell us this before?
Так а что это изменило бы? Лини или нет? Фатуи.
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady Farina has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true?
Иллюзионисты мастера обмана, в этом нет никаких сомнений. Ли не скрывал, что он такой, кто он такой на самом деле, и все случившееся могло быть частью его плана. К тому же Чайлд вместе с другими выходцами из дома очага сейчас в Фонтейне. Не похоже на совпадение. Я уже достаточно натерпелся от Фатуи, и на этот раз...
Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry.
Что?
Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
Фига себе.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
What should we do now?
Но опять же, не доказали же, что он виновен. Так, Ваша честь, прошу слова.
Granted.
Мой
In that case, what is your request?
И в чем же стоит ваш вопрос? Я прошу сделать перерыв в заседании. Нам с подзащитным нужно поговорить.
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
The
Нифига,
defendant
я буду
deceived their
защищать его
own
до конца.
attorneys.
Я хороший
What is there
адвокат.
left to discuss?
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly
то.
have more professionalism than I thought.
Харви Спектра
In that
никто не
case, my
разоблачит.
dear audience,
Я выиграю все
let's allow the
суды.
joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Итак, во время перерыва встречать Лини или нет за кулисами оперного театра. Да, погнали. Ну-ка, рассказывай все.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up.
Гидра Архонт.
I'm sorry,
Она бог
Traveler and Paimon.
воплоти, блин.
Yeah, sorry.
Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys.
Они виноваты пока
Not to
только в
set the
том,
wrong
что
tone or
они фаты
anything,
и все.
but Paimon's really mad.
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain. I know you've clashed with the Vatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends.
Подожди, об
That's
этой
why I
стране
didn't wish to
какой?
flat
О
out lie to
Снежной
you, but
или
chose to hide some details instead.
о
The truth is
этой, о
very
Фонтейне?
important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to.
Но вдруг сейчас вы снова нас обманываете?
Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but...
Сначала ответь на один вопрос. Где ты был во время обратного счета?
Right. Let's hear your answer first, and no lies now.
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick, with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Интересно, события развиваются. И что же ты обнаружил?
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Ну, пока звучит все логично. И по порядку,
Well,
так
that
сказать.
explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Но зачем вам понадобилось узнавать, как работает Oratrice?
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you this time. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But, like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
А мне теперь самому
You
интересно.
decide. Paimon will
Что там
follow
за
your
ядро
lead
такое?
however you choose.
Я верю фактам. Если вы невиновны, я помогу снять с вас обвинения. Если вы виновны, правосудие сделает свое дело.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense.
Главное доказательство у нас уже есть.
Huh?
Перерыв заканчивается, пора возвращаться на места.
Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
А я не понял. Так, рассказ Лини. Оказавшись в тоннеле, Лини через вентиляционный ход проник в подвальное помещение, где хранилось ядро Oratrice. Он не видел, что в это время происходило в тоннеле, а потому не слышал глухого звука. Голос в комнате с ядром Oratrice. Лини утверждает, что слышал таинственный голос в комнате, где находится ядро Oratrice, в подземной части оперного театра. Причем не упомянули, что голос знакомый. Ну да ладно. Куда нам? Возвращаемся в суд. Продолжить суд. Да. Перерыв закончен. Напряженный процесс продолжается.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective.
Вы можете установить несостоятельные части свидетельств, основываясь на изложении событий другой стороны. Используйте полученные в ходе расследования происшествия доказательства и улики, чтобы опровергнуть несостоятельные звенья событий и заменить их новыми заключениями. Убедите аудиторию опровержениями, чтобы добиться большей поддержки вашей точки зрения. Оратрис будет четко показывать такие изменения. Когда вы найдете и опровергнете все несостоятельные звенья, выполните цикл опровержения, чтобы раскрыть истину. Начать.
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that this sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound. Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linney red-handed. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident.
Так, а теперь мне нужно опровергнуть.
And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Does the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the events?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events, what Linney experienced and what he saw.
О, я в какой-то веке говорю голосом. Так. Так, чтобы установить. Вот. Линни входит в туннель. Линни вошел в туннель, когда начался обратный отсчет. Так, оказавшись в туннеле, Линни через вентиляционный ход проник в подвальное помещение, где так? Нет, не то. Вот. Входы и выходы в здание оперного театра. Так, голос в комнате ядром. Одежда девушки. Во время фокуса с волшебным ящиком раздался отчетливый глухой звук, который слышали многие зрители, присутствующие в зале. Так, подожди.
Seems this won't produce a...
Так, входы, голос в комнате с дроном. Одежда.
Seems that...
Что-то я не понимаю. В итоге с одеждой, что ли? А тут вообще нет. У меня... Линни входит в туннель. Линни вошел в туннель, когда начался обратный счет. Да, окей. Линни нападает на Холзи. В результате борьбы Линни и Холзи возник громкий приглушенный стук. Но Линни сказал, что не слышал его, чтобы скрыть правду. Подвальное помещение, где хранилось ядро Оратрис. Он не видел, что в это время происходило в туннеле, а потому не слышал глухого звука.
According to Linney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey.
Ага, это я проверк. Так, дальше. Линни похищает Холзи. Линни оглушил Холзи вазой, а затем снял с нее одежду, чтобы ее не опознали. Но действительно ли Линни был в тот момент в туннеле? Так, а Линни утверждает, что слышал загадочные человеческие голоса в комнате, где находится ядро Оратрис, подземной части оперного театра.
Linney went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
Так, это факт. Хорошо. Лини оглушает Коула. Коул застал Лини во время преступления, поэтому Лини оглушил Коула вазой и фабриковал дело. Согласно имеющимся доказательствам, когда Лини вернулся в тоннель, преступление уже было совершено, и он увидел только одежду девушки.
Lenny did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say!
Ага, взять слово.
When the countdown started, Lenny did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored.
Да, они просто сразу сказали, типа, про ядро на суде. Я думал, это секрет.
Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent.
Так, опа. Чаша весов стала ровно. Опровергнута. Погнали дальше. А мне нравится эта игра. Вот именно вот игровая механика, точнее это. Что дальше-то? Я вышел, и должна быть касцена.
Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that! Oh, wasn't it awesome?
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
Потому что вас не смутило, что он там ядро искал, да? Более того, в вашем обвинении много не сходится.
My reasoning?
Реквизит на сцене подменили заранее, но вы говорили, что Коул оказался на месте преступления случайно.
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Lenny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
Ну вот, смотри-ка.
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around.
Никого не смущает, что он ядро искал какое-то.
Your
Я не
denial
понимаю.
is very strident. I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims?
Вы помните, что помогло вам опровергнуть алиби Лини?
Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask? You're saying that he wasn't?
Ну да. Собственно говоря, его там не было, он и не слышал. Ваше наблюдение стало главной уликой защиты. Так. А что это? Информация о погибшем. Информация о пропавшей девушке. Это я все читал. А вот, еще не исследовано что-то. Крюк. Вот тут еще ведь 3 из 3. Подожди, а что мне нужно? Что является доказательством того, что линия была в тоннеле в момент совершения преступления? Журнал «Дело. Магический обмен в оперном театре». Вот тут...
That's right! Lenny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Lenny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like that?
Ты смотри, как она воодушевилась-то, а?
To think you'd use such logic.
Да, это какое-то раздвоение.
Well then, if it wasn't Lenny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
А кто его знает? Убийца был... Выберите иконки шестерней в меню, чтобы осмотреть соответствующие вопросы по делу. Правильность заключений можно проверить, выбрав ответы и заполнив все свободные шестерни. В случае ошибки придется выбирать вновь из оставшихся вариантов. Ответив на все вопросы правильно, вы завершите текущую логическую цепочку. Так, расследование палаты Жардинаж выявило, что веревка, удерживающая резервуар с водой, лопнула от воздействия фейерверков, запущенных в конце иллюзионного представления. В результате падения резервуара погиб Коуэлл, находившийся в волшебном ящике. Если исключить, что преступление совершил Ленни, подменить реквизит мог только кто-то из членов группы. Ленни подробно объяснил задумку фокус внутри волшебного ящика. Внутри большого ящика был спрятан потайной ящик, откуда исходил человек из зрительного зала. Ящик со зрителем перемещался к сцене по тоннелю, а сам Ленни по тому же тоннелю проходил к ящику в зрительном зале. На сцене в это время была Линет, переодетая в костюм Ленни, и ее ассистент. В тоннеле обнаружена одежда, принадлежавшая пропавшей Холзи. Как она там оказалась, неизвестно. Выберите любую улику, чтобы узнать подробности.
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment.
Так, хорошо. Подождите.
Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Or did she have her own scheme all along?
Да, свой план. Она хотела что-то прибить.
Could there have been a third person involved? Is that really a possibility?
Мне кажется, это все
Halsey is the
бабища.
missing person and an...
Выбрать улику. Нет. Предположение неверное. Хорошо.
Could there have been a third person?
Опять неверно. Все-таки этот.
The deceased's name is Cowell.
Верно предположение. Хорошо. Раз верно.
That can't be right. Are you serious?
Да.
The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased!
Oh, is that so? How interesting! Let's hear your reasoning then.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim.
Так, давай его создавать.
No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. So where would the criminal have wanted to take Halsey? The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment.
Так, хорошо,
Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must have been some fear that she would attract attention. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Linny as well.
Она, поди, все еще там в вентиляционном этом болтается. Так,
No one entered or left.
Первая улика. Я бы сказал, что...
The sound we heard may have come from a clash, but...
Вторая улика.
The deceased's name is Cowell.
И вот так.
It would have been tough for both people to fit into...
Два неверных. Опа. А если вот
Halsey's
так?
clothing was in the tunnel.
Я почему-то логически так подумал.
No one entered or left...
Опять два неверных.
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel.
Да подожди, почему у меня опять платье появилось? Преступник знал, как устроен фокус линии и имел доступ к реквизиту. Если пока оставить в стороне смерть Коула, у него было все необходимое, чтобы завершить преступление. Глухой удар мог прозвучать, когда Холзи оказывал Коулу сопротивление. Линии не было в тоннеле ровно 1 минуту. За это время Коул мог вывести Холзи из ящика, находившийся в зрительном зале. Но жандарм утверждает, что во время представления с театра никто не выходил. Допустим, он вывел ее из ящика. Куда они пошли дальше? Если бы они вышли из ящика в зрительном зале, публика бы их заметила.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
Куда подевалась Холзи?
I see how it is. So this was all just a bluff. And here I thought you had something to show for it. But it seems you're still far from the truth.
А мне кажется, надо понять, что с Холзи, да. Это хорошая тема.
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track?
А, я типа заново должен, да? Ну давай.
Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial design.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
Побег из резервуара с водой. Неужели все дело в воде?
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents. But do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house than an awkward delay in the performance.
Ты смотри, как она играет.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Подождите!
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment.
Так, а тут...
The vase was not broken by chance. It was used to cover important evidence. The water.
Быстро я разгадал. Верное предположение. Ну, давай.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped.
Ну-ка, давайте.
Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water...
Oh, just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water?
В смысле, ты можешь
This is
воду
reality
поднимать
we're
руками
talking about
силой
here,
мысли.
not some magic trick.
А тут не веришь, что можно воду превратить? Я предлагаю осмотреть личные вещи Коула. Там могут оказаться неожиданные находки.
Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny already knows this truth very well. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about 2 completely different things.
Even so, I trust the Traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
Да, давайте.
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Тебе жалко, что ли?
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased, Cowell.
Да, спустя некоторое время жандармы возвращаются с известием.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste.
Что же
We
за
discovered
информация?
several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea.
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence, isn't it?
People can become water. Does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Да ладно, ладно.
Order! Order!
Ух ты ж какой.
It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results, but we cannot yet verify the veracity of these clues. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor.
Продолжать не будет паузы еще, чтобы мы там доизучали
If we
улики,
uphold
все
this
дела.
hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
Вода первозданного моря. Жандармы обнаружили в вещах Кола жидкость, по-видимому, способную растворять уроженцев Фонтейна. Так, установите преступный план убийцы. Кто сейчас главный подозреваемый?
The rope that held the water tank up was lit by the fireworks and snapped.
Выбираем улику.
Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick.
Так, спусковой механизм.
The
Вода,
water from the
естественно.
primordial sea should already have been prepped before Halsey entered the magic box. Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire time. I remember there was something else within the inner layer of...
Нет. Веревка я не угадал.
The deceased's name is Cowell. Linny...
Это я уже слышал. А вот я и разгадал. Ну-ка, давай дальше. Что там?
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Вот, видимо, нам нужно выяснить, что произошло.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Оп, мы вернулись опять на равновесие.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person?
Ну то есть она в душе добрая.
What a humiliation?
No. It
Показывает
seems like the
пафосность.
only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence.
Опа, новый улик.
I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case. And we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's personal effects.
Вот это поворот.
What?
That can't be. I see. Well, how wonderfully comedic to have
Вот
your
это
own
поворот вообще просто
counterattack
неожиданно.
only to come back and wound you. Does this not clear all doubt? My dear citizens, my loyal audience, allow me to present my reasoning and bring this performance to a swift close.
Так. И мне нужно опять опровержение.
Linny
Понял.
did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, he did leave the scene via the vent. Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowell then caused Halsey to vanish using the water from the primordial sea. But upon his return, in cruel avarice, Linny desired sole credit and prepared to do away with his partner in crime. Ultimately, he knocked Cowell out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up also became a murder weapon. Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, it does seem that the famed Fatui is quite the cold-blooded and ruthless organization.
Какое-то обвинение странное. Она типа просто придумывает.
Am I right, Mr. Linny?
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a rebuttal here. Is this the end of the road?
Чё это конец? Давай опровергать будем. Что у нас есть? Ох ты ж, ни хрена себе как бы.
I can't think of anything either. It doesn't look like there's any way around this. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move. Why did this have to happen now?
О, убийца среди жандармов. Вот это поворот.
I think we've all seen enough now. And we have ample witnesses to my flawless reasoning. I believe this is indeed the finale. Now then, my good, noble Chief Justice, should we not, in your view, excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
О, она ж точно
Miss,
убегала
I must
куда-то.
ask you not to shout and to respect the ongoing legal proceedings.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate and see a little magic? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your very eyes. Please, do the honors, Mr. Linny, if you would be so kind.
What in the world is she saying?
О, и что
No
она хочет
offense,
сделать?
miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while presenting a fascinating illusion. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Linny and Lynette. Give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rasula has made the necessary arrangements on your behalf. But, as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should leave the final performance to you.
I understand.
А я не понял, что происходит вообще. И?
And voila.
Здрасте. Это откуда она?
Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So the whole thing about people dissolving wasn't true after all?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me, and then before I knew it, she caught me.
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry. I'm the one who killed Cowl. I admit it.
What? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt. I heard that Linny's show was going to be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket, so I stole one. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been caught before. But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Lenny was the one who caught me in the act.
Hey, no wonder you look familiar. So you were the thief. Lenny even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me. He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was onto me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me. I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance costumes. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
Опытный человек всегда найдет, где спрятаться.
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, I swear it.
То есть кто-то
Had I
пытался
known
убить
that, I
Линни.
wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief, but I'm no killer.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
Да, время опровергнуть предыдущее обвинение Гидроархонта.
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian's perspective.
Так, теперь давай опровержение будем делать, да? Так, зашел он, зашел, ладно. Здесь генерать. Подожди. Упавшая на землю веревка, к одному концу веревки привязан железный крюк, с его помощью лопнул воздушный шарик в волшебный ящик. Нет. Странный звук. Да,
The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lillian's attempt to break out when she was frightened.
Так, хорошо. Линни и Кол сражаются. Линни захотела присвоить себе все заслуги и избавиться от партнера. Раз Холси появилась перед публикой, целая и невредимая, значит, предположение Фурины несостоятельно. Но есть доказательства, которые указывают на то, что в тоннеле действительно произошел конфликт. Вот, наверное, ваза.
The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but was smashed during the struggle between Lillian and Cowl.
Так, хорошо. Линни оглушает Коула. Линни оглушает Коула, а потом избавляется от Коула, инсценируя несчастным случаем, тем же способом, который растворил девушек. Раз Холзи появилась перед публикой, целая и невредимая, значит, предположение Фурины несостоятельно. Что сделала Холзи после схватки? Нет, это, наверное, здесь вот это. Да.
Lillian was afraid that she would be recognized if she left, so she changed clothes and hid, biding her time. Just what one might expect of an experienced thief.
Так, вот, опять.
And it's Ace Detective Paimon time! Having been selected out of the blue, Lillian panicked.
Выбрали именно
Her panic
ее.
only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard. Hearing the commotion, Cowell leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fontaine, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lillian back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowell out and putting him in the box. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk until the performance ended.
Вот и опровержение, собственно говоря. Как же мы хороши! Опровергнуто. Ништяк. Ну, выходим. Что там дальше, Бот?
She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the opera house these last 2 days.
А то есть мы в театре уже 2
She had
дня
already
торчим.
become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses.
А, вот кто 2 пирожных просил. А мы на Пайман гнали.
All the events that happened in the tunnel have now come to light.
Ah, so that's the whole story.
Зрители, наверное, в ахере. Что происходит вообще?
Bravo!
Неплохой такой театр. Опа. Теперь...
Now then, Lady Farina, do you wish to speak against the defense's statements? Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leave the room before the proceedings have concluded.
What? Are you reading my mind now? No. I have no further arguments. I admit defeat. But really, could you at least have left me with some dignity?
Wow. Look at that. She's like a deflated balloon now.
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontaine, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events. The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box, and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box. When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontaine, and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the opera house, and was thus ignorant of these happenings. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Linny, the accused, is in fact innocent. While there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision.
О, что будет сейчас?
As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
В смысле, ты не одна, мы тут толпой вообще сражались.
Partners. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Не торопитесь праздновать.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordial sea in Linny's baggage?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery, but false evidence that you dared to bring before this court?
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes?
Ну да, жандарм другой вообще первый с усами был.
I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of the guards.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know.
Давай,
Our boss
рассказывай.
discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve. It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration. We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent mora off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss we're talking about. The...
Прикончил атмосферу. Да, смотри-ка. А вот он растворился, да? Он превратился в воду. Вот так вот.
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness. I shouldn't have expected any less of them.
Это, по-моему, первое земля, где прям убийство за убийством летит.
All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
Всех досмотр. Ух ты, механические твари. Однако на месте происшествия обнаружена только жидкость, оставшаяся после растворения вона. Так, куда мы идем?
So, we're just going back now?
Пока что проблема решена. Мы здесь больше не нужны.
That's true, but...
Traveler, Paimon, please wait.
Зачем?
Linny...
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me. But still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end. Even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui.
Просто не люблю, когда людей обвиняют в том, чего они не совершали.
I guess. But regardless, I'd like the opportunity to set things straight.
Ты уже объяснялся на самом
I
деле.
didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Linny this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That's all. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave?
Он его называет
The one who
отец.
controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind hearing a story? It's about my past. Back when our parents first died, Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing tricks. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But I didn't want my sister to remain a street rat together with me forever. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first, too. As if fate was on our side and we could say goodbye to those painful days. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either.
Да, я тоже считаю
Better
лучше,
than
чем на
roaming the
улице.
streets at any rate.
It took a while for me to realize just how dark his heart really was. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on the same return vehicle as me. I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not come back. I went to that noble's bedroom and asked him about her whereabouts.
Да
The answer
ладно.
he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift. I mean, you'll be able to perform your magic regardless of who your assistant is, yes?
Oh no. So he was gonna... But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such people?
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care, and they have their ways of escaping the eye of the law.
И что было
I
потом?
managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. But by the time I leaped over the walls, avoided the guards, and made my way in, all I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood, and the knave standing there in the darkness.
So, she'd already taken care of that guy.
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement, all of them orphans.
Это
Father,
довольно
the
жуткая история,
knave,
вам скажу.
might have seen something in me, and so she made me an offer.
И прям неожиданно и
The
достаточно
House of the
взрослая для
Hearth
такой
welcomes
игры.
you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal shall never be permitted here. I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just been betrayed by nobles. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
Но сейчас цель слуги сердца
She
Бога.
has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis's power once she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fontaine.
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis. Today's case has also proven that people from Fontaine can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. All of us house members here, Lady Arlecchino herself included, are from Fontaine. We won't give up on defending our homeland. To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family, is our homeland.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a Gnosis, everything is aimed at dealing with that prophecy.
Но я все равно не могу доверять тебе, как раньше.
It's all right. I understand. The only thing I can do is relate all this to you. I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the House, I have never stopped making my own decisions, and that I believe what I'm doing is right. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me. I will do my best to help you, as plain Linny.
Пока. Все, я ушел. Да.
Bye, Linny!
Так, опа, эта большая миссия закончилась. Так, да, на сегодня, наверное, все. Прошли много и больше, чем час. Час 30, полтора часа по факту стрим был. Вот. Завтра будет стрим по Resident Evil. Будем продолжать проходить. Вот. Вообще расписание стримов можно смотреть в моей группе ВКонтакте, либо в Телеграм-канале. Точнее, лучше в Телеграм-канале, там более актуально все. Вот, ссылки есть в описании канала. И всем спасибо за просмотр. Ставьте лайки, пишите комментарии, если есть что сказать. Подписывайтесь на соцсети. И всем до новых встреч. Пока-пока.
Windblade!